Hi, we're back here in the locker room with Billy Schweim on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Scotty McKay's in his house. I'm broadcasting right here on Asbury Avenue across from Berger Realty in Ocean City. Josh Henning back at the studio. And we have our Housemaster Home Inspection Twitter poll question of the day. Was the Eagles' discipline of Deshaun Jackson Friday night enough? Right now, Scooter, 51% say yes. 49% say no. Keep the votes coming in at Locker Room 973 or at 973 ESPN. And now, Scooter, as we do each and every week, it's time for the prop push for prop.
Yep, the Locker Room's push to get Brian Popp in the Hockey Hall of Fame is sponsored by Wolf Commercial Real Estate, which is a full-service commercial real estate brokerage and advisory firm specializing in office, retail, medical, industrial, and investment properties in southern New Jersey and the Philadelphia region. They provide a complete range of real estate services to commercial landlords, tenants, investors, developers, banks, commercial loan services, guided by their total commitment to their clients and their community. For all of your commercial real estate needs, please call WCRE at 856-857-6300. Also, Paul Rumbos wants to thank all of the first responders, hospital workers, and especially plant operation engineers for all their dedication during these trying times in healthcare. Currently, Major Medical is looking for motivated individuals with degrees in biomedical engineering, specialty compressor pump mechanics, and administrative staff. Call 1-800-969-1300, extension 107 if you're interested. Major Medical also supports Brian Popp getting into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Meep, meep. Now, let's go into the Barb's Harley-Davidson Sports Hotline and welcome in ex-Flyer, ex-roommate of mine, and assistant general manager of the Montreal Canadiens, Scott Mellanby. Scotty, what's going on, buddy?
Holy smokes, Scott, take a breath. That was
That's a big read, isn't it?
That's a lot of words in a row for you. Holy
I know, and I didn't fumble too much either. Scary.
No, you didn't. That was impressive. Very impressive. Yeah.
Right.
What's up, Scooter?
How you doing, Schweimer? I'm good. I'm doing okay, bud. Thank you.
I'm glad you took some time to talk to us today. You know, we've been, of course, obviously, Scotty and I were talking several months ago and said, well, why isn't Brian Popp into the Hockey Hall of Fame? And so we came up with this idea to get the push going and talking to some of his former teammates. And, of course, we thought of you, and I'm glad Scooter reached out for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's, we were roommates, Scotty and I and Brian, long time ago in another life, it seems like. But, yeah, Brian is it's interesting because, Brian was kind of a guy that just went out and did his job, and he was a quiet individual, and he kind of flew under the radar a little bit. But when you really start digging and looking at what he accomplished, in the Hockey Hall of Fame, it's not just about your NHL career; it includes your whole career. And he was a great junior player as well. I think voted the best left winger of all time for junior hockey. So, really when started talking, his name never even comes up really, which is surprising. And I'm certainly not judge and jury on who should be in or who shouldn't be, but he certainly has a strong case when you start digging and looking at some of the things he accomplished. 5 cup finals with 3 different teams and all the records as a left winger, top point producer as a left winger in playoff history. And he's got some gaudy numbers. And, the one thing about Brian too is Brian was a complete player. Like, he was a guy that back at a time when defending as a forward wasn't always a prerequisite for forwards, he was a really, really reliable defensive player. Great on the wall in his own zone. Always, got pucks out, things like that. The guy you'd put on the ice defending a 1-goal lead. I'd feel very comfortable having him out there.
Hey, Scooter, when I spoke with Scotty the other day, I was surprised to hear that you really weren't aware of how good his numbers were.
Yeah, I wasn't. I mean, like I said, I did realize that he had put up big numbers, but when you start digging and you really, to be the top scoring left winger in the NHL in playoff history is quite an accomplishment. And like I said, I think part of it is Brian wasn't a flashy player. He kind of like a Luc Robitaille. Like Luc Robitaille wasn't a guy that got the puck and went end to end, but he just knew how to play. and he was around the net, and he made plays, and he could score. And Brian was similar. He wasn't a flashy player, and he was, just a guy that, like I said, he wasn't a big personality with the media. And for whatever reason, he just, he went out and did his job. He didn't play in a Toronto or a Montreal where, obviously those kinds of markets you're going to get a little bit more media attention. And when Scotty sent me some of the statistics, I really was like, wow, like they are. He's got as good a case as many guys that are in there for sure. And like I said, I'm not going to say some guys that are in there shouldn't be. I think it is what it is. There's no actual prerequisite for how you get in, but his accomplishments really speak for themselves. And if you really look at them, it really is jaw dropping.
Yeah, you don't ever really want to say, well, this guy doesn't belong and Brian does. He should have been in, because the guys that are in there obviously have earned it and deserve it. But, like I said, even myself, who's been, as close as anybody to Brian for the last 39 years, I started digging and I'm like finding stuff like, I didn't know he had 6 NHL records as a left winger. I just didn't know that. And it's not something that you see every day, but it's funny, the more you start digging, and with cookies now on the internet, you start digging a little bit, all of a sudden stories start popping up. And so my question to you would be, what do you think is probably his most worthy accomplishment that would push him to get in the Hall of Fame? Obviously a lot of people say he didn't win a cup, so he shouldn't get in, but obviously there's 15-20 guys that are great players that didn't win a cup and are still in.
Yeah, I don't think there's any one thing, but so you say, well, he didn't win a cup, so but when you talk about playoff performance, he's the all-time leader in points by left winger. So he clearly performed in the playoffs. He played in 5 cup finals with 3 different teams. So to say, well, you didn't win a cup, so do you penalize a guy and say, well, you're a loser because you played in 5 cup finals?
Right.
I mean, to me, that's like saying Jim Kelly wasn't a good quarterback because he played in 4 super. I mean, you can't. Yeah. To me, that's right. And we do as a sports society get infatuated with, and rightly so, guys that win a championship. But there are guys that win a championship. That, there's. Jay Bouwmeester won the Stanley Cup last year. For many years, he was criticized for never being in the playoffs. Then he went to St. Louis. He ended up in the playoffs, and he won a cup. So it's a team sport, right? And in the end, I don't think you penalize Brian for not winning a cup. I think you look at what he did do in the playoffs, and he played in 5 cup finals and has all these records. I mean, Scotty, you sent me that thing. And there's records within the most power play goals by a left winger in Stanley Cup playoffs. Most assists in a Stanley Cup Finals game by a left winger. It goes on and on and on. I mean, it's really impressive.
And Scooter, you made a good point. You look at a guy like Clark Gillies who won 4 cups with the Islanders. His numbers pale in comparison to Brian Propp, and yet he's in. Yeah.
Well, and I think Scotty said, one of the points that he made was that not only did he go to 5 Stanley Cup Finals, he went there with 3 different teams. He wasn't like on a Montreal Canadiens team back in the day where they won no matter what, or he wasn't on the Islanders 4 in a row or the Edmonton Oilers. He was on some good teams. Actually, I just saw an article yesterday about the worst team to ever make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, and number 1 was the Minnesota North Stars in 91-92, which, it's kind of funny they say that, but they had a tremendous run in the playoffs, and I think Brian was a part of that too. So it's amazing what he did.
Yeah, and I think too, like when you play on different teams, it's not like your role is going to be different all the time. But when you play in 5 cup finals over however many years Brian played, your role has to vary a little bit, and you have to buy into, what you're going to do and how much ice time you're going to get and who you're going to play with, and so that clearly shows a coachable player who can fit into a dressing room and be a part of a winning formula. And to me, that's the way I look at it. To me, he's a winner because he played in 5 cup finals, and unfortunately it didn't happen for him. I played in a couple. It didn't happen for me either. But, like I said, it's to play on 3 different teams that get to the finals is pretty impressive.
Must have been living with me,
We're talking with Scotty Mellanby, former Flyer and current assistant general manager of the Montreal Canadiens. Hey, Scooter, we're having fun here. Would you mind hanging on with us? We could take a break and we come back talk about the up-and-coming NHL season.
Yes, we will. And I have to give a shout out to my daughter who lives in Philadelphia. She's listening right now, Courtney.
Great. Hey, Courtney.
Living in Philly the last few years, and she's listening.
So hang on with us, Scooter. We'll take a break and we'll come back. We'll continue more with Scotty Mellanby. All right, we're back here in the locker room with Billy Schweim, Scotty McKay on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. We got former Flyer and the current assistant general manager of the Montreal Canadiens, Scott Mellanby, with us. And Scooter, I know you got to be excited, but we're excited. The NHL has a start date of August 1st in Toronto and Edmonton. How do you feel about how this is shaking out, Scotty?
Well, I'm at home right now, and I'm traveling to Montreal on the 20th, and I'm going to have to do 3 tests Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week, and then 4 tests quarantined when I get to Montreal. So I have 7 tests in the next couple of weeks, so I'm not really excited about that. But no, it's great. I mean, everybody, the world's a different place now, and it's incredible. I never thought we would see something like this pandemic. So, everybody's longing. You forget about how important the world of sports is to everybody. It's a big part of entertainment for people's lives and stuff like that. And so we're all looking forward to it. I mean, I'm a fan as well as being in the business, and I'm looking forward to seeing some hockey.
So, Scotty, what do you think the toughest part of your job has been as assistant GM currently, without all these guys you'd be going seeing during this time of year to look at for next season, stuff like that? What do you think is your toughest part of your job?
Well, I think what's tough for everybody, and it's not a primary role of mine, but on the amateur side of thing with the draft coming up, obviously everybody's in the same boat. But certainly once you get past the first handful of players in the draft, there was still a lot of hockey left in for the kids that will be drafted this year. So, I think that's the toughest part for will be the draft coming up, is some of the showcase tournaments that would have taken place the rest of the season. So there's a little bit less exposure for those kids this year. But really for me with the shutdown, there hasn't been a lot to really do. I have been signing a few players for next year for our American League team, things like that. But really it's been very slow, and I'm not overly involved. Obviously, I get the emails from the league every day, but I'm not overly involved in all the formulas that they've been coming up with in the CBA negotiations. I don't really have a role in that. So, quite honestly, it hasn't been really hard for me, except the fact that we're all creatures of habit, and the day-to-day hockey stuff that I've done over the course of my lifetime that goes away, and all of a sudden, it's your life just kind of slows down and stops, and you realize how much it means to you.
Right.
Scotty McKay and I were talking earlier. We even had a Twitter poll question a few weeks back, which sport we thought would make it all the way through, and I believe didn't hockey win?
Hockey won. Yeah.
Hockey won. Yeah. But we also thought that the one sport that be hurt the most would be hockey, because Scooter, there's no. I mean, if you're playing basketball, maybe you can shoot in your backyard, and maybe a lot of these guys have like gyms at their houses. Well, not everybody has a hockey rink and has ability to skate.
Yeah, no, there's no question that for the players, that's been the most challenging thing, is just trying to find ways to do their training. But there's nothing like being on the ice, and really at the end of the day, that's why they need a couple of weeks of a training camp to just get back out and get playing at that pace. But they're all in the same boat for the most part, so. It is what it is. I'm sure in Philadelphia everybody's pretty excited. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Flyers have been one of the hottest teams, maybe the hottest team in the league before
they won 9 out of their last 10 before the break.
Right. So, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be an interesting event. Obviously, it's gonna be very interesting. I'm going to be there in person, but watching some games on TV as well. It's going to be very interesting to see without
the fans, how that kind of fans in the building, how how that kind of goes. But at this point, people just want to see competitive sports, so it should be good.
Yeah. Well, Scott, I got to ask you. I mean, I thought about this yesterday, but what is more shocking to you? Proper isn't in the Hall of Fame. Chief won the Stanley Cup as a head coach, or Schweiner has a radio show.
The most shocking to me is it's not that Schweiner has a radio show; it's that it's still on the air.
It's scary.
Hey, Schweiner's he's always been an entertainer. He's always been an entertainer. So I'd say they're all fairly shocking, but good for everybody. And Chief and I have stayed in contact over the years, and obviously I just moved I was living in St. Louis 15 of the last 18 years. So I saw Chief on occasion the last couple of years, and I tell you what, he is Mike Ditka now in St. Louis. I don't know that he'll ever buy a dinner in the city of St. Louis again. He's a hero.
No, he came in Ocean City last year, Scooter. We got to spend some time together, and I'll tell you what, he hasn't changed a bit. He's a beauty.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He is who he is, and he's a good person. I'm very happy for him to have that success.
Scooter,
so what do you think?
How about, I just want to bring up one memory. Tell us a little bit about the Rat. Remember you're down in Florida. You're playing for the Panthers, and refresh our memory. What happened with that Rat that ran across the locker room floor?
Yeah, that was before our home opener in '96, and the Rat came in the dressing room, and I whacked it with my stick and killed it. And then I had 2 goals that night. So Van Beesbrook said I had a rat trick, and we went to the Cup Finals that year, and people were throwing. I mean, they're still doing it there. They're still throwing rubber rats on the ice there. I think I should have got a piece of the action. They're selling them in the stores and everything else.
Yeah, you should have. You need a better agent.
Yeah. I should have had Schweiner. He would have.
Yeah, that would have get it. Well, listen, man, thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. Too many times between phone calls. We got to stay in touch more, and tell everybody. Hopefully, everybody, the family's doing well. Carter, Nick, and Courtney, and Sue, obviously. So we hope everybody's doing great, and stay safe in this time, bud.
Okay, guys. Thanks a lot. Always enjoy talking to you guys. We'll talk to you down the road.
All right, thanks a lot. Scotty Mellanby there here in the locker room when the Brian Propp push for the Hockey Hall of Fame, Scooter.
Yes, Brian Propp's push to get in the Hockey Hall of Fame is sponsored by Wolf Commercial Real Estate. It's a full-service commercial real estate brokerage advisory firm specializing in office, retail, medical, industrial, and investment properties in southern New Jersey and the Philadelphia region. They provide a complete range of real estate services to commercial landlords, tenants, investors, developers, banks, commercial loan servicers, guided by their total commitment to their clients and their community. For all of your commercial real estate needs, please call WCRE at 856-857-6300. And Paul Rumbos wants to thank all the first responders, the hospital workers, and especially the plant operation engineers for all of their dedication during these trying times in healthcare. Currently, Major Medical is looking for motivated individuals with degrees in biomedical engineering, specialty compressor pump mechanics, and administrative staff. Call 1-800-969-1300, extension 107 if interested. And Major Medical also supports Brian Propp getting into the Hockey Hall of Fame